My original question was going to be the same as Aaron's, but that helped a lot. I also definitely have very much the same desires of power and superiority and wanting to be special.
Yeah.
I've felt that I've had some sincerity in prayer.
Yeah.
And I've been often it helped being in church in worship. That was like felt like the first experiences for me.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm curious if I'm just delusional as well with that.
If the motivation inside the person is to avoid their life, you can go and have a so-called spiritual experience, but it's always going to be with a spirit and not with God, right? So for many of you, when you say, oh, I've received love from God, what we feel is you haven't received love from God. You've received an acknowledgement and a strong, powerful feeling from a spirit to meet your addiction. Now, obviously, the problem with that is that if you believe it is God, then you're more than likely going to try to repeat the desire you had, and they are more than likely going to repeat their response, right? And the damage of that to you is that it starts creating inside of you the delusion that you are actually having the relationship with God. And what we have met many, many people who believe very, very strongly that they have a relationship with God, and yet they don't have one at all, and they have one instead with a spirit, usually earthbound or in the first sphere, who's giving them, or a group of spirits that are giving them this energy. So in the case of Round River, I think there were about 9 of these men giving you this energy. Does that make sense? They like you. They like the idea. You're a young fellow. There's certain characteristics about you they feel they're going to be able to get your life going in a good way, but also experience a lot of things for themselves through you. And so they like being with you for that reason. So there's a codependence that develops, you see. So
similar things happened for Tim too.
Yeah, similar things that happened to you.
In the past, even before you heard divine truth.
Yeah, you're starting to address it now, and I do feel you are becoming more sincere and more honest with yourself. As you hear and receive more information, you're becoming more honest. But there is still this tendency that you have to avoid your pain by having your addictions met, and that's the danger. The danger is avoiding your pain. Remember yesterday in the answer we gave to...
Laura? No?
No.
Mikey?
Mikey. About the desire to avoid pain being a powerful motivator for you to do things which are in the end just going to be for the purpose of avoiding pain, right? Now, many spirits who are in the earthbound condition are also avoiding their pain.
Yeah.
So Errol was avoiding his pain from his past.
Yeah, when you go to church, it's interesting with church, isn't it? Because you want to go somewhere where you feel like everyone's focused on God. But you need to be careful in that environment. Saying to you, Perry, too, because I know you sort of visit churches and stuff. A lot of times there's a lot of spirits there who've been Christian on earth who have a very similar feeling. They want to avoid their pain. They see you want to avoid their pain. They're like, they want to give you sort of approval for coming to this place that's, again, so they just give you feelings. They just give you a kind of an approval feeling. Yep, you're in the right spot. Good on you.
Good on you, mate.
This is good. You're a good bloke.
You're starting to get interested in God. Good on you.
Yes, good. And they think they're doing a good thing, but actually they're in an addiction and they're encouraging you in your addiction. So you've got to be a bit... circumspect about what
I have seen
is saying.
some churches, some Christian churches. One I went to in Barbados. I didn't go to it. It was an outside church, and we went to go to the place to have something to eat, and right in front of us they were having a church service outside, and it was a Pentecostal Christian church service, and almost everybody in the entire service became overcloaked. Some of them were flopping around on the ground and everybody was thinking it was great. great. This was all manifestations of the Spirit, they called it. And it was manifestation of many, many, many spirits, actually, but not God.
Not the Holy Spirit.
Not the Holy Spirit and not God. And so nobody there received divine love the entire time the service was on, but they called it that because they were all just getting overcloaked with different spirits the entire time, right? And we see these things happening all the time, everywhere we go. We go to a spiritualist church the other night when we were in England last week, and watched a medium, and there were people there overcloaked, with these same kind of spirits helping them out and making them feel good, and it's just most people on earth don't understand the interaction between the earth life and the spirit life, and they don't understand how seamless it is, and they don't understand how much it's based upon what you want, right? And a lot of times our desires are not very pure as to what we want. So, the average person on earth would believe that if they want to avoid pain, that's a good thing. They think that's a pure desire, actually, a good thing. And quite often they try to engage God in avoiding their pain, only to have the effect of having spirits come in the guise of God, helping them avoid pain. Yeah. If God wanted you to avoid pain, he wouldn't have penalties associated with law.
Yeah.
God knows that by feeling some pain when you break a law, you will be more conscious that a law is broken. If there was no penalty associated with breaking a law, like imagine on the highway, they have a sign that says 70 miles an hour. You're driving along at 80. Policeman pulls you over, says, "You're driving at 80, mate." And you go, "Yeah." And he goes, "No worries," and lets you go.
You're like, he's a nice guy. I see him every week. I see him every week. It's great.
And the next time you're driving along the highway, you're going to be doing 70? No.
No, you want to pull over and talk to that nice police officer.
You'll be doing 80, right? You'll be doing 80 or even more. You'll push the limits probably even more. And the trouble is, remember, the laws are broken in the spiritual, emotional, sexual and physical areas. The trouble is the human race is trying to stretch the limits of the law constantly in every area, morally, sexually, physically, spiritually. They're trying to stretch, how far can I go? How far can I stretch the limits? And if there weren't penalties associated with breaking a limit, all of our bodies would be complete messes. Full of disease and suffering. Our lives would be much more of a mess than they already are. The whole world would be at war constantly if there were no limits. But because there are the limits given upon by the pain and suffering, we can't bear it constantly. The longest wars in history have gone on for 5 or 6 years generally, but the reason why they don't go on much longer is because people can't bear it, right? The Vietnam War, of course, went on for longer, and look what happened at the end of that. People couldn't bear it, right? Because the longer something goes on, the more people can't bear it, right? And if it wasn't for the pain and suffering, you could bear it. You'd just do it and do it and do it, and there'd be no limit. And then as a result of there being no limits, you would actually damage yourself and damage you. If there weren't limits on this earth would have been damaged so much by humans that we wouldn't be here now if there weren't limits. Because in the past there were certain events that occurred through the engagement or breaking of law that could have absolutely destroyed the earth if there wasn't a limit on the human ability to do so. Yeah? So this is something worth bearing in mind. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.